Villagers of a small Galilean town are celebrating a wedding. In any culture, a wedding celebration is an occasion for family togetherness and the bonding of relationships. Is an occasion of joy and happiness. Now, guests have been invited to share in this joyous atmosphere. But suddenly, unexpectedly, something disappoints them. There is no more wine or even water, since the jars are empty. It's a rather embarrassing situation. In the Bible, the wine represents love, joy, and happiness. For the ancients, a feast without wine would become like a funeral. No songs, no music, no dances, no cheer. Only drawn faces of sad and disappointed people. Sadness, dejection, if it is severe, even depressed. One of the 8 deadly thoughts, just the opposite of joy. Lost a sense of hope. In Isaiah 25, chapter 25, 6, Israel has been promised that God would prepare for them a banquet of rich food, a banquet of fine wines. But here, Jesus finds a sad and disappointed people, like people taking part in the wedding feast without wine. Why? The reason is simple. Relations between the people of Israel and their God were no longer like those of a bride who was made happy by the tenderness and attention of her spouse. Rather, it has become like those of a slave forced to obey the orders of a master. Here, religion has been reduced to a scrupulous observance of countless norms and rules. And it was simply impossible to keep them all. And so people felt impure and therefore unworthy. And they had to submit to frequent ritual bathing. And they needed to keep water always at hand for this ritual purification. But a surprising fact is the 6 water jars are empty, which means even the water for purification was no longer kept. Why? Because it has failed to bring any joy and happiness to the people. Today's Gospel of St. John is very rich in symbolism. The wedding at Cana represents the state of the people. Is disappointed and sad situations. A love relationship has been substituted by an observance of juridical norms. So sisters and brothers, many of us may observe many church rules and regulations like coming to church for Mass every Sunday, etc. And yet, without having a personal, loving relationship with God. It can happen in the family, it can happen in our religious communities. A lot of things going on. But there is a lack of that kind of personal, loving relationship among the members, the spouse, parents, and children. The mother of Jesus can be Mary, yes, but it can also mean the spiritual community. The community of faith within which Jesus was born and educated. In today's gospel, it also represents those pious people in Israel who first realized that the religious situation has become intolerable. What did they do? They did not go to see the president of the feast, that is their religious leaders who had organized the feast and were responsible for its good outcome. Instead, they went to Jesus. They went to see Jesus. They had understood that Jesus was the only one who could give the living water that could be transformed into good wine. The wine that brings true joy and happiness. And so Jesus is saying, enough of the old religion, the so-called Judaism of his time, that brings sadness. Jesus wants to erase forever the image of a very harsh and severe God. The kind of religion founded on mere external fulfillment of duties does not manifest the glory of God because it does not make people free. There is no interior freedom. Does not make people feel joyful and smile. So Jesus has given his wine, the truly religion of love that instills trust and hope. So sisters and brothers, when we see ourselves, when we see our communities whose members who are sad and gloomy faced, we may wonder why. Is it because we are living the religion of the old covenant, the religion of legalism that takes away our spontaneity and freedom? The religion of external obedience and observances. But this kind of religion does not produce joy and interior freedom. It brings us fears and anxieties. Make us feel very scrupulous in observing all the details of the law. Perhaps many of times the wine given out by the church is not Jesus' wine, because Jesus' wine always brings joy, interior freedom, and happiness. So sisters and brothers, know that when God gives us commandments, they are always given in the context of friendship, in the context of relationship. It is meant to serve the koinonia. So when friends have obligation to each other, they do not do so. They do not so-called have much constraint as bind them together. How come? Because it is the obligation of love. It is the obligation of friendship, not law. Say, if you are a boss and you treat your employees well, with respect, with love and trust, and you have a wonderful, close relationship with them, then it will be a real joy and freedom for them to work for you and serve you, because they will feel more the obligation of friendship, of love, rather than law. Without that, it will be very formal, very legalistic and calculating, cold, lacking freedom, joy, and spontaneity. I hope our parish admin staff do not experience this. So you have to ask Mariana Pock, you have to ask Angela, you have to ask Mohit, whether this is their experience or not. If we're very strict in every details. And that is what happened to the followers of Judaism in Jesus' time, when their external observance of laws was outside the context of friendship, the context of relationship, when that did not flow from a loving relationship with God. Instead, a loving relationship has been substituted by an observance of laws. Today, for us, a lot of those observance, sacramental rituals, we are very scrupulous, very detailed. Well, rituals are necessary, but if we observe them outside the context of relationship, then it has failed God's purpose. So we can find people who can be very scrupulous, very observant of all the details, but you don't find them kind, gentle, compassionate, loving, and merciful. So because of this, the joy and freedom symbolized by the wine. So by giving this wine that cheers, the wine that cheers the human heart, Jesus transformed the sterile religion of the Jews into a religion of true joy and interior freedom. So sisters and brothers, Christianity is a religion of joy. And our Pope Francis is very particular about this. He wrote the encyclical, The Joy of the Gospel. All of us are called to experience the joy of salvation, the joy of God's love and mercy. There is no place for the experience of sadness, of dejection and depression. No. This is not the spirit of holiness. It's always joy, peace, and love. So St. Paul wrote in the first letter to the Thessalonians, be joyful always, pray continually, give thanks to God in all circumstances. This text was used in our habit number 7, mindful living. Be joyful always. Be grateful always. When we do that, we are praying unceasingly.